And we're ready to go. Well, welcome
Okay.
everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have 22 people on this webinar, and this is the partner-led virtual session for the ConnectWise community, the ConnectWise user group. Just a reminder, all these webinars are partner-led, so it means that all the feedback, all the different presenters, all the different content is built by the feedback that we get from you as the partners, that we get from the community, just to continue the engagement and build this community, collaborate, learn, and be successful together. The purpose of having this session is to create that engagement, bring knowledge experts within the industry, be able to learn, ask questions to our presenters, to each other. We have several opportunities throughout the year to do this. Like I said, these are built based on your feedback, so we always welcome your suggestions on how we can make these better. You're taking an hour out of your day to join us, so we want to make sure that these are successful, valuable to you. So feel free to reach out to myself. I'm the facilitator for the group, and we will take your feedback, and trust me, we do listen to those, and we will definitely implement those. Yes, this session, it is recorded, and I will send out a follow-up after this tomorrow, Monday, with additional content that will be provided by Frank, and no additional information about our community. You see a lot of people in here. Feel free to listen to the ones that are asking the questions, making comments. Make those connections, because that is how we grow our community. The main thing about this is about learning from each other. Always, to stay up to date on what is happening, is to join our Slack group. So I'm going to give you a few minutes just to take out your phones, scan that QR code. The running joke, it is safe. It is a safe QR code. You can click on it, take a picture of it. It will take you into our Slack. And we use this to keep you guys up to date on everything that is happening. And it's also a great way to post questions. You can just ask questions to the community. We will answer to those. Or if you have a comment or a joke, whatever it is, just keep it engaging. It's been, ever since we migrated, I keep saying it's been a little quiet in there. So I really appreciate it if you guys just join and keep the conversations going. We have a lot of activities coming up. So like Frank was saying earlier, before we started the session, he's going to be in Denver next week. And it is the user group for the Outlaws, the 5280 Outlaws. That is a user group based out of the Denver area. And this is a great opportunity for those of you who are attending that, because there's actually two sessions taking place. It is not only the user group, but it's also Evolve. So if you're not familiar with the Evolve peer group, there'll be a great opportunity to interact with those individuals, and also be able to attend some of the sessions that they create for Evolve. So it's going to be a lot of information for both. So presentations for Evolve and for the user groups, and they can go to each one. So there's a lot of information. Go to the ConnectWise University. If you're not an Evolve member, just go to the ConnectWise University and make sure that you sign up for that under the user group section, and you will be able to enjoy that. Today we have our monthly webinar with Frank, and then next week we will have our open mic. So open mic is just open conversations that we have within the community to ask questions, comments, and this will be a great way to hear from you, to see what you want out of this, out of all these sessions, our meetups, and all that. We're going to use it for a little bit of feedback to, again, make sure that you're getting value out of these. Next month, the Central Mafia is having their user group on September 25th in Burr Ridge. And side note there, we also have a pre-day scheduled for September 24th, and that is going to be at the CompTIA offices just north of Burr Ridge. And we are partnering with CISA, and actually they're going to bring one of their cybersecurity advisors, and they're going to facilitate a workshop for us on the cybersecurity performance goals assessments. So they're going to bring us, show us everything that they have to offer for organizations free, and also help us with that initial workshop. And the plug in there is they also committed for our next user group in Q1 when we're actually going to run tabletop exercises. So we have 2 workshops scheduled with CISA as pre-days for our user groups. Then also we have a monthly webinar on September 12th, and that is about creating internship programs. That's going to be presented by one of the other facilitators, Dave, and then he's going to show us how he was able to implement internship program inside his organizations. He went through all this. He actually built a guide, and he's going to show us the experience and the best practices that he implemented. Again, also we're going to have our open mic, and then in October, again we'll have go back to a regular cycle. We have our monthly webinars and the open mics. As always, I'll send all those different updates, and I'll post all that information on the Slack. As a reminder for regional user groups that I just mentioned in Denver and in Chicago, if you attend those, you have an opportunity to win a ticket for the next conference in Orlando for the IT Nation Connect, which is November 6th through the 8th. So be sure to attend, because that is the one of the ways you can win your ticket. Speaking of CompTIA, they are offering a free year membership. They partner with ConnectWise to offer this to all the ConnectWise members. So there is your promo code. I will add this to the follow-up. You'll be able to see it on the recording. But you can fill out your application, and you got a 1 free year. Frank and I were talking, we're just at the CompTIA conference last week. That is one of the benefits. You get to go to the conference for free as part of your membership, you and anybody within your team. So right there is a great opportunity and benefit from being part of this community. I believe on the community. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe on the power of interacting with all of you. And I can tell you that it was a great chance to meet more people, connect, talk about challenges, solutions, talk to Frank and many other vendors out there. And that is how we actually be able to, see what's going out there and see how we can bring best practices to our company.
Yeah, I'll just add there real quickly, Juan. I've been participating or a member in CompTIA for at least 20 years, primarily from the vendor side. But I think one of the biggest values, as we saw last week, is that it's not a lot of selling. It's a lot of communication, relationship, just figuring things out, right? Just hearing from industry experts, competitors on the same panel, just all for the betterment of the industry. So it's I didn't realize they had a free membership here. This is wonderful. So I hope everybody takes advantage of that.
Yeah. And on the Slack, I did post last month all the benefits that you get from the membership. So it's a good summary of all that. And it was a lot of education. I was surprised on every single session. I mean, it was 100% educating the MSPs on many different aspects, not just technology. You get marketing, business development, growth, personal growth, all that. So great opportunity, fantastic opportunity, and take advantage of that benefit. Did I skip a slide? No. All right, so we're always looking for people to present. We have user groups coming up. We have webinars coming up. If you feel that you can participate, bring something to the community, share something, best practice, case scenario, or if you met Frank, at a conference as they had this conversation, I think it will be great to bring that to the user group. Let me know. Just reach out. and join the conversation. Present together, right? Get out of your comfort zone. And by the way, we are looking for partners who will want to speak along with ConnectWise for our next user group, because we don't not only want to hear the basic concepts of how to use a tool, but how do you use it? What are the best practices that you have learned, or how you actually doing it, so we can relate and learn and communicate and collaborate on how you are implementing all these different tools. So let me know, reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to put you in contact with the person who's presenting, and you'll do great, and you might win a T-shirt or something. I don't know. I just made that up. Now I'll have to commit to a T-shirt. All right, before we're getting ready to hand it over to Frank, make sure that you ask questions, that you participate. This is an interactive session. You can use the chat. I will be monitoring that, or you can come off mute and ask a question. Well, that'll be cool, right, Frank?
No, absolutely.
Awesome.
I want to make it interactive. Absolutely.
Yeah. So today with us we have Frank. We've been talking for a while now on presenting for our group. Is interesting, and I'm very excited about this, because we're going to talk about vulnerability management. And I just received, I just saw it in my inbox. I downloaded the ConnectWise. I still have it over here, the MSP threat report. And it's interesting that the top two changes that they've seen is, one is like old software, and the other one is in regards to not having your software or anything up to date.
Yes.
And the top two attacks, or how the attackers or the bad actors are leveraging, is vulnerability within your systems, right? We always hear about, email business compromise, or the user being the weakest link, but really a lot of times the leveraging is, within that entry point is the vulnerabilities inside your system. So Frank is over in here going to talk to us about that, the importance of managing, the importance of being proactive. And a lot of times, we hear about pen testing, what the pen testing is able to offer versus vulnerability management, which one it fits best your organization and the offense to your client. So with that, Frank, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge with us. So
yeah, you bet. Yeah, thank you. If you want to stop sharing, I'll share mine. Or if can you see the screen?
Just take over, man.
Perfect. All right, I grabbed it. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. So so thanks, Juan, and thanks to the team, the whole group, for attending today and listening a little bit. So there's been a lot of talk, and Juan and I have been chatting with Matrix for a number of months, and he's actually finally started utilizing Nodeware within his practice. So thanks for that, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. I think it just kind of interactive how you're using it, but as part of the process, we've kind of come up, and this comes up in lots of different conversations, is, oh, I did a vulnerability assessment, I'm good, right? That's the same as a pen test. Or I did a pen test, and I need it once a year for my customer, and I'm good, right? It's like, no. There's a quite heavy distinction between the two. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each, and sort of how they compare and contrast, and when you need to work with them. So just going to, again, talk about the differences between vulnerability assessments and management. They can kind of bucket those two together to a certain degree. And penetration tests, right? When's each appropriate? When you might need both, right? There are going to be, much more recommendations from us that you should really do both. It's not one or the other. And we'll talk a little bit about how they support compliance and cyber insurance requirements. Again, the combination, not one or the other, although both of them do, but really the combination is pretty powerful. When it comes to vulnerability management, right, this ongoing proactive, right, we're going to talk about how to use and sell vulnerability management as part of your stack. It's not necessarily a standalone. It can be, but realistically, it really should be part of a broader stack. And the importance of monitoring threats, and the tracking the progress, against your work and your commitments. So let's start with, a little pen testing myths, or conversely, the truths. So first piece is, right, pen testing only identifies vulnerabilities. Yeah, they do that, but they also, more importantly, assess the effectiveness of the controls you've got in place, right? There's either, you might have one dependency that's tied to another, that's tied to a third, and individually those look okay, but when you kind of control them, or you're managing the control, that's not necessarily good, and so you need the pen test will identify those and monitor that. Pen tests only involve IT systems. Well, that's a clear no. Really, a pen test, and I'll talk about our company and how we do that. But pen tests really can include non-IT, can include physical security, the key card that you put to get in the door. It could be just employee awareness. So it's a lot of different pieces that can be included in a pen test. And that's where customizations. Ethical and malicious hackers use the same methods. Well, they sort of use the same methods, the same tools, and get into the certain things. But ethical hackers, and really adhere to the rules of engagement with the business, right? In some cases, a pen test might be only known by the CFO and the CEO, and everybody else is outside the realm. But at least somebody in the company is going to know from our standpoint. So we're not going to, break the bank and break the codes just to prove that we can. We're going to sort of show where those can. So it's an important distinction of what is going on. But scary prediction in look at it as well. Only large enterprises need pen testing. Again, that's very much a myth. Increasingly so, small and medium businesses can benefit and or are required, right, depending on the industry and the vertical that they might be in. And the last one I have here is that, disrupts the business operations. Well, a well-planned one won't, right? You're stimulating attacks, and we're really trying to use non-invasive methods. So, if any of these things come up and you hear about it, just kind of say, well, no, that's not the case. So let's look into in the comparisons, right? So vulnerability assessment, right? This is the simple, let's call it simple, process of identifying vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Juan was talking at the beginning, right? Could be just an OS version, could be a printer a printer vulnerability that's an open port or something like that, right? So things that can be done and can be exploited, versus the penetration test, right, is really determining if that maybe it's one you've identified as a vulnerability or others, and if and how they can be exploited in your unique environment. So the pen testing companies like IGI or others, right, we don't just try it, we provide more detailed report out afterwards, saying, how we got in, what's the specific remediation, what should be done before the next pen testing. And that's where this combination of assessments and management and penetration testing can really come in. To put it into sort of maybe a different vantage point, if we compare it to joint military exercises or just military in general, right? Assessments are the strategic evaluations. You might be evaluating how many troops you've got in different locations, how much artillery you've got in different locations. Do you have the vehicles to implement something? Do you know the maps and the so really looking at the environment and sort of pinning that against pieces. And a pen test, just call it what it is. It's a mock battle, right? We are an ethical hacker trying to go in, break the system, find out where pieces are interrelated. In the case of the photo here, right, those could be 3 different branches of the service trying to all land at the same spot, when that doesn't necessarily make sense. It made sense on paper in the assessment. Oh, we're going to attack this beach. But when you get into it and you realize, oh, wait, there's a missing piece here, or these don't really play well together, or we got this gap over here, right? So that's what the pen test is really trying to do, is to identify that. So let's look at the purpose, right? So an assessment, right, we talked about, I'm just going to go a little deeper, identifies the vulnerabilities, rates their severity, right, and provides remediation recommendations. So this is the proactive play of looking at an environment. This could be on-prem, this could be remote devices, this could be cloud and external addresses. But you're kind of continually looking for those vulnerabilities and where the issues might be. Penetration testing, right? Again, back to the mock battle, right? This is a simulating a real world attack by a hacker to see how far they could penetrate, right? Where are the plays? Where are the gaps when you might have two tools here, but there's one that gets right in between because they're not talking there. So just kind of the analogy there. What kind of answers or questions are answered, right? Well, in an assessment, what vulnerabilities are there? How severe are they? And in the case like with Nodeware, right, it's first off just identifying all the assets that you have in that environment. I mean, how many times have each of you gone to a customer and they say, "Oh, we've got 50 devices, 40 employees, 50 devices." Well, really, you got 100, right? Because we're adding and looking all vulnerable surfaces, all IP addresses from a camera on the edge to the server at the core and everything in between. So the pen test again is how can these vulnerabilities be exploited? What would be the impact, right? What data are they able to access because they've made this connection and these links between multiple locations? And then again, just looking at the military play, the assessments is the strategy evaluation, the inventory, and the pen test is this mock battle. So if there's any questions to this right now, I'll see if there's anybody wants to speak up. Otherwise, I'll continue. Juan, is there any questions in the chat?
Nope.
Okay, perfect.
Not at the moment, but I know you and I did have this conversation as we were going through our evaluation, because we do the pen test, and we're trying to compare the two. And I'm sure you're going to go into a deeper explanation. But one of them is getting that deep knowledge of all the different devices, and even in our other testing environment, which it was Riley's, all those IoT devices that they came up in his lab. I was like, oh my gosh, you have more devices than we have here in the office. And it's identifying all those different components. And like you said, the pen test is like, how are they going to exploit those? But you really want to have visibility to those before they actually have the capability of being exploded. So that's kind of like how the two compared, and that's what we're talking about. Security, it's all about layers, right? So this is keeping up of what you have out there.
Yeah, as everybody on the call knows, right? Things change quickly, and new vulnerabilities are published daily, right? I mean, there's just thousands per year that are published, so you got to keep ahead of them. So looking at pen tests, then, so what are the types of pen tests, right? We talked a little bit in general, but there's really 4 types that we can look at, right? There's the network, right? You're looking at everything physically on the network. How you getting through there? The applications, right? You can look for applications, traditional apps, web, mobile. You got physical penetration testing, right? You got that I mentioned about just a facility entry, right? How if I'm coming on site, can I get in the back door, right? Is there a gap in there? So that literally, the dumpster dives, right? It's the USB. All these elements can be included in a pen test. And then of course the general social pen testing, right? How can we put out phishing exercises, fake sites, right, that people will look through, the emails, all the rest of that. So there's lots of different options there, but really the bottom line is that you working with your customer needs to understand, their business objectives, what are their business requirements, or just from a compliance or, new cybersecurity insurance or whatever it might be. You might need to do 2 of these 4. Maybe you need to do all, 3, whatever the mix might be. You really got to have that conversation, and us as a vendor in the space can help guide that and get the optimal service for you and your customer. Looking at the categories, again, we talked about this a little bit, but bugs, outdated software, insecure software configurations, right? Just I thought that was good. It could even be just that simple, using the default password, right? As an example, right? Those can be tested and understood as vulnerable. But more importantly, right after this discovery, after this testing, right? How do you deal with the risks, right? Are you deciding to accept it, or, it's within tolerance levels, or no, dang it, our business depends on that data. If we were to get exploited in there, then we'd be dead, right? So you got to understand where the ranges are, right? You got to work with your customers on the mitigation, right? What pieces need to be done immediately, which ones might be done differently, or just to transfer the risk, right? Is it is somebody else going to help manage that within the process? So again, just some things to think about and what needs to be done. If we look at general objectives, this is a wide range with a lot of high percentages here, right? Everything from checking for specific vulnerabilities to M&A due diligence, right? There's a lot of acquisition going on in your space and others. If you before companies are acquiring others, that's becoming a factor. They want to make sure that you're clean and secure, and things like third-party risk management, which isn't necessarily included in a pen test, but that's in the related field. That all these different things can be related to why you would do a pen test and what you want to get out of it. It's just some other specific elements where pen testing is a compliance requirement, right? You got this list here from credit card, PCI, HIP is on the bottom list, but CMMC, NIST, right? These are all very much requiring pen tests on a regular basis. So again, depending on what your customer might be in, they might need one or more of these listings. But there's also things like GDPR and HIPAA, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, right, and other tools, other requirements that are recommended or strongly encouraged, and again might help in your cyber insurance applications and requirements. So things to just understand and start asking your customers, if you don't know already, are you reliant or tied to any of these materials, and go from there. So things to think about, right? Consider your customers' environments, right? What are their requirements? What are their compliance? What's their insurance? Don't overlook the pen testing of internal systems, right? It's a full meal deal that you need to be looking at here. And once the test is done, right, it makes sense to try, maybe do some of the remediation, do some work, and then have a retesting done. The first one might be comprehensive, the second one might be baseline, kind of an electronic version of the test, but really is important to continue and consider how to continuously drive this improvement. One of the things I didn't really mention here, but maybe it's self-evident for a lot of people already, but this is not something. The pen test is not something you can do by yourself, right? This is a third-party element or third-party activity. You can't be the fox watching the hen house within your environment and testing it and say, oh, this works great and no issues there. So you'll see in all the requirements, wherever they are requesting a pen test, it's from an outside third party. So you might be the IT outsourced for the customer, but you're going to need to outsource this part of the activity. So when to conduct tests, again, we talked about this a little bit, just, might be deployments, might be acquisitions, it might be just, specific sector-specific needs, different requirements, whether the FTC is coming down or ECC or whoever, right? But generally, these fall into the compliance and or insurance requirements, right? You need to know what your customers' needs are and provide guidance and have the options for them to make the mix here. So just to, again, IGI Cybersecurity is a sister company to Nodeware, and we provide a couple of the different products here. I'll just reference this, and you guys will have this in the follow-up material. But PenLogic is an ongoing, a year-long process with comprehensive, with baselines and some other elements along the way. So rather than a one-time test once a year, it could be a month, it could be an MRR type of product for your customers. So think about it that way, where it's a little bit more deep and a little bit more detailed than a once-a-year test. If you just need a quick, simple baseline, just a smaller business up to 5 external and 250 internal addresses, your cost is $3,500. You can mark that up to as much as you want, and we can provide some flexibility a bit in that. But it's kind of a good foot in the door penetration test if you want to, you've got a small customer, you want to try us out, or they just need something quick and available. And then after that, it really becomes a customized process that we design the pen testing solution, look for, again, how many environments, how many locations, do they need physical, do they need this, that, the other thing. We'll go through that with you and your customer and help you design the most optimal process there. Some of the other services, CISO, team as a service, the vendor secure. I will call this out a little bit. This third-party risk management is another really strong new requirement coming from NIST in particular, where they're calling that out. So this is managing your customers' software vendors, their hardware suppliers, anybody that's in and out of their system and their network. This is a really growing tool to be as a requirement. So again, we can help you manage that, and I'll give you contact information if you want to follow up after this. All right, so let's go. So that's kind of the pen testing, right? That's the attack. That's trying to get in. That's driving the business from, finding, are there things exploitable? So vulnerability management is really the ongoing patching and love this, Tom and Jerry, right? It's a cat and mouse game, right? These things are always popping up. There's new vulnerabilities on a daily basis that provide, something that we have to look at. Some of them that are published are 0.1% of a chance of that happening in your environment, but they are publishing them and they might find them. There's others that become more critical and more vulnerable, right? We all have plenty of examples in that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, sort of this continuous, why it's critical. Again, it's a management of the vulnerabilities. It's not an assessment. And so I'll make a further distinction that, pen testing versus vulnerability management / assessment. But management is really continuously looking, really trying to understand what is a risk within that process. And, really assessments were for a long time kind of that once a year checkbox, right? Or it was for prospecting. I need to look at your environment. It needs to be done that way, and it still gives you an opportunity to prospect with your customers and find out how good or how bad they are. Maybe you want to deal with them, maybe you don't. But it might also give you opportunities to find additional opportunities, other statement of work process. And so we'll talk a little bit further on why it's different. But again, I'll think about vulnerability management. Think about it really as a proactive process, a proactive identification, including, somebody BYOD, bringing in their own device, on a Tuesday afternoon. Well, you might not know, on normal cases, you might not know ever, but you might not know for a week or two. Well, with a product like Nodeware or some of the other vulnerability management tools, you can get an instant alert that a device was brought onto the case. Again, this continuous scanning is critical for this proactivity element. A lot of the other tools, EDRs, XDRs, SIMs, right, tell you kind of what happened and what to fix. But in often cases that may be too late, or it's kind of after the boom, right? We're really kind of talking left of boom is really where vulnerability management comes into play. And we talked a little bit about assessment, right? Just a one-time glimpse, whereas management is continuous, ongoing, and really driving this continuous vulnerability, and not just for filling out a form, but really driving better IT, better, safer IT. So, again, how to build this into your day-to-day value as an MSP and adding MRR, right? Identify these daily, right? This is not a once a month, once a quarter thing. But once you get, there might be a big hump at the start just of identifying, oh my gosh, I found so many things I need to fix. We'll talk about how to prioritize those, but really looking at the daily things that come up and getting alerts, sort of being told by the system that a new vulnerability was published the last couple of days. It was found on 5 of your systems. Here's the patch, and let's go do that and take care of that before it becomes a problem. So looking at this top 10 or 20, I can mention, sometimes, Juan, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but right, you roll out Nodeware to a customer and you see like Riley's stuff. He said he found, a bunch of 10, 20 different IoT devices that, oh yeah, forgot about those. Oh, are those ports open? Are those risky? Some of them may or may not be, but if you're always kind of keeping the focus on the top 10 to 20 criticals and highs each month, then you're working towards the risk reduction. And that's really what your customer is going to be caring about, and what you're going to be able to do and keeps it manageable, right, for your service team. And then ultimately, right, there's more and more cases where continuous vulnerability is not just a nice to have, or vulnerability assessment is a need. It's really the continuous vulnerability management that's coming in and playing into the compliance and audit support. And that's where reports and other just data comes in handy. So just to talk a little bit about Nodeware, kind of following up on those key critical elements. Nodeware, right, it's truly continuous scanning. We have sensors for the network sensor, capturing everything from an IoT device to VoIP phones to scanners, printers, iPhones, Androids into the server. So all that can be picked up and scanned via the sensors. Then we have agents for Windows, Mac, and Linux, some Ubuntu, and a couple other Linux types of devices, and then the externals, right? And we provide real-time alerts with network access, new devices found on, or the new risks, or if a sensor goes offline, you also want to be told about that. So if we don't see it for 20 minutes, you'll get an alert that says, hey, this device is down, better go fix it. We kind of help you be prepared for insurance and compliance, right? Just from reporting. We found through a lot of our techs using just the remediation suggestions can save up to 20%. And then our newest feature that we just added 2 months ago now was in the program patching and remediation. So it's a patching for Windows devices right now. If it's an agent-based device, we can find, and I'll show you here in a second what that looks like. But it's if you already have a great ARM patching tool and you don't need this, you can at least use the feature within Nodeware for validation and checking on your work. Just a couple quick slides here, what the interface looks like. Again, you get your IP address, MAC, fingerprint, and you can do some sorting and tags, and then you get your scoring. This is kind of looking within a particular device to see all the vulnerabilities that are found within that. Again, here you see criticals and highs. Those would be your priorities to go in and deal with. Again, we provide some specific remediation suggestions or recipes on what needs to be done. Again, here's another example of what is vulnerable and what you can do with it. This is our new patching tool. So again, within the same platform, you can see all your devices that are Windows-based, and you can see like these bottom three, they're up to date, right? They've got the July, great, perfect. Again, if you're using this as a validation tool, you can do that, or you can look at these first 5 and see, all these have a July update available, but they've got different variations of when the last patch was done. So that's you can do that, and then you can select those devices, select which update to apply, and then when you want the reboot, right? We're not going to do an automatic reboot. We're not going to just do it when you click the button. You're going to work with your customer when's the most opportune time to do that. Yeah, so that's pretty much that. The reporting is available. There's 8 or 9 different reports, from executive summary to network to log4j reporting to inventory reports. So all these different reports available either by schedule or by demand. You're going to the customer in the afternoon, you want a latest and greatest executive summary, you can publish that or produce that in about 10-15 seconds. You'd have it available. On the bottom here, we do have API keys that you can utilize into various tools. We've also done some work for you on your behalf, integrating with things like compliance tools like Compliance Scorecard and VCIO Toolbox and ScalePad's control map, right? If you're using our product with those, easily to pull the data in, go right into your reporting or any other data available. We have some other integrations like with MarSuite and other folks. SockSoder is integrating Nodeware. So a number of different providers that are utilizing our APIs, and they're there for you to utilize as well. So a quick recap, right? So there's 3 categories of things that we've kind of gone through here. Vulnerability assessment, right? It's the one-time snapshot. This is what we know is there, the number of devices, what kind of risks they might have. Vulnerability management, right? Sort of that snapshot, but then doing it continuously and regularly, right? Looking for environments, going to helping be more proactively finding and repairing them before anybody else does. And then this penetration test, right, is the availability of coming from the outside, having a third party test your work ultimately, right, and looking for things of what could be exploited, showing what happens if they were to get compromised, and then providing a detailed recipe on what needs to be done to eliminate those. That's next steps, and if there's any questions, Juan, you can bring them up, but I'll just kind of leave this up here if you want to go to some Q&A. But right, the two websites if you want to kind of learn some more, nodeware.com, pretty straightforward, and IGI Cybersecurity for the pen test and the third-party risk management and the other tools. So we are sister companies working together in partnership and in coordination. You can contact myself at my email there, or Matthew Koenig, my colleague. He's our VP of sales. Again, I'm more on the alliances, partnership, distribution. So but we interact, as Juan saw us hanging out a lot last week together. If you'd like to see a demo of the Nodeware product, you can sign up here or send me an email, whichever is easier for you. And then our support knowledge base, again, I think, Juan, you found this to be very helpful for your team. Just a lot of the questions are answered. The one thing I will call out that, again, is enabled in the support knowledge base is that if you are rolling out Nodeware first time, literally within about 20 minutes from establishing the customer in the platform to getting data back, 20 minutes, maybe 30 if you got a couple extra steps. But it's a very straightforward, very ease of use setup and implementation. Sure. Okay, Juan, tell me, what do you want to know? What did I miss?
I'm gonna let you catch your breath first. We do have a question. I just want to summarize, because you share two different components, great components. One, when it comes to pen tests and the vulnerability management. I think both of us, there's a lot of people in here that can play different roles within the organizations. We have technical individuals, we have sales individuals, account client advocates, DCIOs, and all of these tools not only help us keep our clients safe, but it also helps us drive those conversations and make those conversations a lot easier. Both of them, right?
Right.
When it comes to requirements and looking at pen tests, like, okay, what are the ways that if somebody can get in and find your system to still be runnable, and the other one is getting that awareness on what things you can remediate, kind of like before that pen test. And I think we shared that we do use the on our and I'm responsible for making sure that organization is secure, and organization is make sure that our clients are secure. But from my perspective, we do the pen test, and we get this this report and saying, okay, these are all the things that we found. Now go fix them.
Yeah.
Right. And just a little plug in here for when it comes to the nowhere piece, as we went through it. It's like, it's not only letting us know what are those risks, what are the vulnerabilities that we have out there. We can now remediate those before our next cycle when it comes up. Exactly. And so our reports, wherever we choose to present to our for compliance or for cybersecurity, I mean, it's going to help us, have that report be a lot of cleaner report, right? Making sure that we're staying up to date, and then we take care of those. The other thing is it time saving? Because I remember the first couple of times that we were running all these pen tests, I have all these, all the results, like, oh, now I have to go and fix all these things, and I have to now learn what does this mean? I don't know. I pretend to know. It is my job to know, but I now have to learn that. And with some of the automated features, now I can automate that remediation, saving me time, saving our team time, and even with the recipes, right? So we can leverage our lower tier help desk team, that we can say, this is exactly what you need to do. Here's a recipe in order to fix that.
Yeah.
And not only we keep them aware of those risks out there, but they're also learning on how to properly manage our clients and keep them up to date. So we did have a question from Craig.
Well,
It says,
let me just follow up just to that. I think
Yeah.
there's a point where we'll get to the question. That's why I kind of said, it's not a one or the other, right? The vulnerability management is really a good aid. If you've got a detailed pen test report and output, you're going to have dozens of things to do on there, right? And you're going to do one at a time and sort of chink down the list. But the vulnerability management is kind of the looking at the system, to check your work, that you've done the thing that you thought you were doing. So you're kind of ultimately you're trying to improve your next penetration test, right? You're trying to make that test be good, clean, I'm good to go, right? And that's where there's a back and forth between the pen test and the vulnerability, where the combination is really important. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, and I can even say by experience, by doing pen test for our client and pen test for herself, like for one of our clients during their pen test, they were actually able to get access to clients' accounts, username and password, and even test the penetration even further, because they're able to get access to that as part of that test. In our case, they were unsuccessful to get that, but now with Nowhere, I can actually say, okay, if you get credentials, because I'm going to provide you the credentials, how far can you get? So it actually gets it to that next level. So even though during that first pen test they were not able to get access to accounts because of their method, but if we have a email compromise, when they actually able to get access to credentials because of the user, now we were able to get to that next step and be able to remediate that. So again, it's just those additional layers.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So Craig did have a question that's related to the pen test, and he said that Sophos has introduced Tenable vulnerability scanning that is integrated within the Sophos MDR and SOC. How does this solution compare to your solution? And additionally, Vonahai offers ongoing pest testing at a low monthly cost. Can you compare your pen testing offering to theirs?
Yeah. So on the first part, Tenable it's the original vulnerability scan, right? It's been around 20 plus years, very enterprise focused and enterprise cost basis focused too. I haven't seen the costing from Sophos, but generally they can be pretty expensive. That said, the Tenable tends to the report outs. I didn't show any examples of reports, but their reports tend to be very voluminous and very hard to understand and implement. At least what most of their users that we've seen have told us. But we do have a lot of current Tenable or recently passed Tenable users now using Nodeware, just because it's the setup time. Again, it's 20 minutes and you're up and running with a new customer. The data is continuous. Tenable still needs to be scheduled. So you're not quite sure when the last one does, and it can be burdensome on the network. So I have some other listings. I can actually provide some of the follow-up, some of the key points against them, or at least that we consider features for Nodeware against Tenable. The other part of the question on the Vonahai, it does what it would call a pen testing, but it's really kind of a daily assessment more than a pen testing. It's not touched by humans. There's no the automation is great, but at the same time, automation doesn't really sort of try different things and look up. And that's where human eyeballs and human fingers on keyboards running a pen test is always going to be more effective. So it's gonna meet some requirements, but we also think a more physical, hands-on pen testing with human output on the report, right? Not just a spit out report of this. Here's the 5 things we found, but our reports tend to be a little bit more complete and sort of, you know, taking into the context into account. Ooh, that's a hard thing to say, tongue twisting. So hopefully that that answers. And again, we'd love to show that off if you want to see either one of those a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like I think that's the questions. Hopefully, Juan, was this kind of hit the spot? So I think this is hopefully valuable information for everybody. If again, you can, I'm still showing my slide with the contact information. So would love to, you know, talk to any of you guys anytime, just if you want to just understand the differences a little bit deeper and see where it might, you know, you might come into play, how we could work together. I'd love to have the conversation.
Yeah, I think you were right on. I saw a thumbs up pop up there.
Perfect. All right.
So definitely thank you for sharing this, and I'll get all this, and I'll add it to the follow-up email.
Okay. And if anybody's at, and again, to your point, if anybody's at IT Nation Evolve or at the user group, I'm in Denver all week from Monday through Friday, actually. So would love to meet up with you. We can chat then. So ping me and send me a note and let me know if you've got time to meet up.
Perfect. Are you guys going to be Connect?
We will be at Connect. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep. We'll be there in November, right?
November.
So,
yeah.
I know it seems like a far way out, but it'll blink and we'll be there. Did I lose you? Juan, you frozen, or is it just, did we lose Juan?
Appears he's definitely frozen.
Yeah. Okay, it wasn't just me. I was thinking, did I do something wrong? Well, I think maybe we're
that spotty internet in southern Indiana.
Well, yeah, southern Indiana, Kentucky, you know, sometimes they're a little off there. So, well, any other questions from the audience while we wait for Juan? Any thoughts or?
Is one going to share in case we would want to get you engaged with one of our clients? The last page that was just up.
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah,
Juan's back.
I'm back.
Here you go, Candy. Here's my contact information if you'd like to send me a note. But we'd love to. And again, particularly on the, you know, what kind of pen test and all the elements, right? That becomes a very, very specific conversation that, you know, it's not one or the other, right? It might be a couple calls, right, to define what that scope of work and what the, you know, whether they need physical, whether they want, you know, phishing exercises. So we can help identify that. We, you know, between you and your end user and us, we can, you know, get you exactly what's most important and try to be cost effective as well. Okay. Well, Juan, now that you're unfrozen, any other parting words of wisdom?
I lost my internet, so glad it wasn't Teams, and then we drop everybody. So glad it was just me.
Yeah.
So no, I will add all that information to the follow-up email. That way you don't have to you know, go through the recording again. I will send out the recording. So if you feel like you need to share this with anybody within your team, go ahead and share that, and they can listen to all the benefits and hear this presentation again. But I will add this again to our email. And Matt actually is going to be with us pretty soon. We have him on the schedule,
right,
and talk about, you know, give us some guidance on actually how to position the cybersecurity into your stack for your clients. And
well, I know particularly Vinay, who was on, right, was hopefully Vinay, hopefully this, actually I think he may have dropped already, but he was asking about different levels. So anyway, yeah, happy to be on. Appreciate the time again, Juan, and have a great rest of your day, everybody, and look forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week during open mic.
Sounds good.
So,
see you.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
You're welcome.